So what are the top Silver Age CGC graded comics in my comic collection? Let's find out. I don't have too many CGC Silver Age DC comics. I know it's a travesty. However, I'm going to start with the few that I have. And first up is this bad boy right here, Raven the Bold number 28. Only a low grade 2.0, but still. I am a product of Super Friends cartoon. I grew up on the Justice League of America. Oddly, this comic, I believe, is pretty undervalued. I believe a lot of DC Silver Age comics are undervalued. This comic has the first appearance of the Justice League of America. Supposedly, this has the first cover appearances of Martian Manhunter and Aquaman. I don't know how true that is, but Heritage Auctions pimps that out. Back to this comic book being undervalued, I got this pretty much for its historical value and sentimental value. But historically, this comic helped solidify superheroes once again becoming part of mainstream comic books in the Silver Age, because for a while they fell out of favor during the Golden Age. This book also helped to inspire the Fantastic Four. So most of you comic geeks know that DC kicked off the superhero revival during Silver Age. When this book came out, Martin Goodman went up. Martin Goodman was Stan Lee's boss at Marvel during this time. He came up to Stan Lee and said, "Hey, DC is doing real good with superheroes again." And this book came out featuring a superhero team. So why don't you create one? Let's jump on this trend. And of course, Stan Lee sought out Jack Kirby. They created the Fantastic Four. The rest is history. However, without this book, that wouldn't have happened. So I believe this is probably the first superhero team of the Silver Age. So Avengers, prior to the MCU, Avengers was not a household name. People outside of comic books did not know or care who the Avengers were. However, I'm betting they did know who the Justice League of America were because of the cartoons, A. And B, the characters like Wonder Woman, Batman, Superman, maybe even Aquaman. Most people knew who those characters were to begin with before Zack Snyder's Justice League, before the movies. They knew it from the Super Friends and the Justice League animated series. But as we all know, the MCU put the Avengers in the stratosphere. If there's aliens up there, they probably even know who the Avengers are. Anyway, got this quite a while ago. I think I overpaid for it. Yeah, I definitely overpaid for it, but I don't care. There's a few times I actually tried to trade this comic book, but nobody was having it. I'm kind of glad that nobody was having it because I like owning it now. Um, I think it's a classic Mike Sikowski and Murphy Anderson cover. I mean, you see it, you know this is the first appearance of the Justice League of America. Anyway, there's that. All right, next up, one of my favorite DC characters, probably my second favorite DC character of all time, and that is Barry Allen, the Flash. Huge fan of the TV series with Grant Gustin and Candice Patton, Danielle Panabaker. So I got this a while back from Mike's Comics Plus. Definitely overpaid. I think you can get copies a lot cheaper at this grade, and probably a better grade at this price. Reverse Flash, one of my favorite villains, is definitely Flash's, Barry Allen's Flash, and other Flash's arch nemesis. Surprisingly enough, I grew up on Wally West Flash. That was my introduction. Was with when Wally West was the Flash during after Crisis on Infinite Earths. This is definitely going to stay in my collection for a long time. Um, Believe it or not, those two are my top. I do have others that are Green Lantern related, but they're not exactly my top. And that's the odd thing, is because Green Lantern is my favorite DC Comics character. But anyways, now we're jumping to Marvel. Here we go. Fantastic Four number 52. I got this well before the hype of the first Black Panther movie. Um, I got it off the eBay and it was already CGC graded. First appearance of the Black Panther. I am letting this one go, despite it being one of the top Silver Age CGC comics in my collection. Once again, I've had this a long time. I do like the character. The story is amazing in this issue. If you have not read it, I suggest that you do. It is time. As I mentioned in a previous video, I am saving up for a major grill. That's quite expensive, and some comics do have to go to help fund that. Unfortunately, I have designated this as one of them. So if you are interested in owning first appearance of Black Panther, Fantastic Four number 52, a nice mid-grade of 6.5, hit me up. Bay Area homies get first dibs. But I am going to be sending this out soon to be sold. Consignment. Alright, so speaking of comics that I'm unfortunately letting go, but they are my top Silver Age CGC comic books, brings us to this bad boy right here. Amazing Spider-Man number 6, first appearance of the Lizard. So this is basically the first Amazing Spider-Man Silver Age comic that I bought. I bought it from Comic Inc. back when it was still owned by a gentleman named Lenny Chauncey. I did get this comic because it was a first appearance, but I also got this comic because it was an early Amazing Spider-Man. I bought this comic raw. I'm actually surprised at the grade that it came back, because I thought it was basically a 4.0. This is surprisingly one of the first comics that I got CGC graded back in the day as well. Um, so I do have a sentimental attachment to this comic. But like I said before, I am saving up for a major grail, and some comics gotta help fund that. I've had this comic also a very long time, longer than the Fantastic Four number 52. This comic actually really began my journey of picking up key issues, first appearance key issues. Yeah, I think it's one of the cooler early Steve Ditko covers on Amazing Spider-Man. Um, Another reason, and I have to be honest, that I got this comic is because at the time I couldn't afford a 2, I couldn't afford a 3, I couldn't afford a 4. Believe me, if I could have, I probably would have ended up getting a 4. That's actually a comic that I still somewhat want. We'll see about that though. All right, next up. Let's see. All right. This bad boy I will not get rid of anytime soon because it has one of my favorite Amazing Spider-Man villains, and that is Kraven the Hunter. Amazing Spider-Man number 15. Forget about it. This is going to be in my collection for a long time until it's time for me to go, to leave this world. Then I'll get rid of it. But yeah, I was introduced to Kraven the Hunter during the Kraven's Last Hunt series. That series made me a definite fan of Kraven. It was basically the dude's freaking obsession, his over obsession with just things in general. It reminded me of comic fanatics. That's why Kraven the Hunter reminded me of comic fanatics. Um, always on the hunt, and always just like comic collectors are always on the hunt for the next great comic find. So I forgot, when did I get this? I don't remember when I got this. I did get it on eBay. It was already graded. It was a CGC slabber already, but like most comics, I did get it before the movie hype. So love this Ditko cover. I'm surprised this is a lower grade than my ASM number 6 because it looks a lot better. But anyway, unfortunately, it's got that kind of miswrap. You know, that probably lowered the grade quite a bit. Anyway, don't get me started on the movie. All right, so next up is actually maybe I should do this one last. We'll skip on ahead. I'm going to do that one last. It is the most, it is the top Major Grail comic in my collection. If you've been watching my videos, you probably already know what it is. I'm pretty sure Jerry knows what it is already, but alright, so here is my second top, and that is number 4. First appearance of the Brotherhood of Mutants. Hell yeah. I mean, I basically got it purely for that alone. First appearance of the Brotherhood of Mutants. My favorite, I don't know if I should say this, but my favorite villain team in comics, or just probably my favorite team in comics, because me right now, if I was in the world of X-Men, I'd be joining these boys. I wouldn't be an X-Men. Maybe I'd be an X-Men when I was a kid, but no. Now, I'd be a brotherhood. So I believe this is the second cover of Magneto, and of course it's got the first appearance of Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver. Nah, okay. Um, Not really a big fan of either. I do. So okay, for transparency's sake, I am a fan of Brotherhood of Mutants. Second incarnation more, which is, I call it Mystique's Brotherhood of Mutants. That incarnation, I'm just going to call it the second Brotherhood of Mutants. That incarnation's first appearance is in Uncanny X-Men 141, I believe, the Days of Futures Past storyline. Yeah, that was my favorite Brotherhood of Mutants. But love this comic. I just recently got this comic not too long ago, maybe like years ago, something like that. This is definitely gonna stay. I have no desire to get rid of this comic anytime soon. This is definitely a mainstay in my X-Men comic collection, 100%. All right, next up, X-Men number 14. First appearance of the Sentinels. I got this from Jerry, actually. He gave me a super good deal on it. I forgot, this was before COVID, I think. But yeah, I mean, if you're an X-Men fan, you know the Sentinels, you grew up on the Sentinels. They were one of the most terrifying villains that the X-Men had to face. Every time they showed up, you dreaded what might happen to your beloved X-Men characters. Such a mainstay in the X-Men lore. I believe the movies have kind of got them right. I mean, they were really underplayed, but I understand because it takes a lot of special effects to make the Sentinels, and it's going to cost quite a lot of bucks in order to have Sentinels and to make them that prominent in a movie. But I really dug Fox's version of Days of Futures Past and the Sentinels. The first scene with the Sentinels in there definitely brought out the fanboy in me. But yeah, once again, thanks Jerry for the wonderful deal on this. Yeah, definitely a mainstay in my X-Men collection. No desire to get rid of this anytime soon either. Classic cover. All right, so now for the last and definitely not least, this is my major grail in my comic collection. Period. CGC or Raw does not matter. Here it is. X-Men number 1, the one, the only first appearance of the original X-Men, and the first appearance of, most importantly, Mag freaking Nito. I still can't believe I own this comic. I've seen this comic book so many times throughout my life, and never once thought that I would be able to attain it. Throughout the years, periodically, when I've seen it, it's always been out of my reach. The X-Men were my team as a kid growing up. They're the main reason why I stayed in comic books for as long as I did. I mean, this is just such an iconic cover. Uh, Jack Kirby done a lot of iconic covers. There's no doubt in that. There's the reason why they call him the king. As an X-Men fan, and this is my creme de la creme, Major Grail. I got this in late 2024, so not long ago. You can see the video of it. You wouldn't have guessed that I was excited about having it, and there's a reason for that. Earlier that year, my mom died of cancer, so it felt a little strange to feel happy about anything. And so when I opened this guy up, I was conflicted about, you know, being happy about owning it. I forgot when I decided that I was going to make a concerted effort to get this comic. I think it was 2022. But back then, I knew that there were some comics that had to go in order to help fund this comic, and I sold a lot of keys that I had from the Bronze Age, from the Copper Age, even from the Silver Age. One of them was Hawkman #4, I believe, the first appearance of Zatanna. That one stung. It still stings. However, I did have to I had to make decisions on, well, do I really want that comic or do I really want this comic? And of course, we all know the decision that I made. So I will admit that I wish I did hold off a little bit longer, because these comics are selling for a lot cheaper than what I paid. I could have got higher grade for the price I paid. But yeah, I'm still glad that I even have a low grade copy of this bad boy. Definitely a major grail, definitely sentimental value, definitely a historical value, because this is one of the few comics of the time that touches upon racism and bigotry. It's a comic that has definitely resonated with me and with my childhood and the bigotry that I faced being an Asian American. I definitely related to the X-Men. The X-Men were my team, as I said before. Uh, Avengers were okay, they were cool, but I couldn't relate to them at all. They didn't resonate with me that much. Fantastic Four somewhat, but it was mostly the Thing that resonated with me. I didn't like Human Torch. Um, Sue and Reed, I just couldn't relate to them at all. The Thing, yes. Anyway, so those are my top CGC graded comics in my comic collection thus far. Some of them are in it for the long haul, and some of them might go the next time I do an updated version of this. They might not be there anymore. But hopefully by then I will have that major grail that I've been talking about. Anyway, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for joining me on this adventure. And I hope 2026 is going well for you. So far for me, it's going pretty good. I'm tired for sure. I just got off of work and then did this, but yeah, it's been pretty good so far. Starting to learn to be happy again. So anyway, have a good one, guys. Stay healthy, stay safe. See you next time.